Welcome back to Big Conversations with your host, Tee Adeyemo. Big Conversations is a monthly magazine show produced by LCCMedia and hosted by my very humble self. Tonight, we've looked at how to deal and manage with kinky hair. We've learned about your money, my money, her money. We did finances with Tayo and Dotun. And then that was Giselle giving us an update at Edmonton City Council. Still to come, a conversation about mental health, and the panel we did earlier this week with Mary Thomas on, again, dealing with mental health, because mental health is real and it's very important. So we ask that you like and subscribe and that you share our content. So stay with us, as the conversation we're about to have right now is very, very important. It's down to earth and it's very real. And we ask that you share this content with your friends and with your family. Now, autism spectrum disorder is a developmental disability caused by differences in the brain. Autism spectrum disorder is a developmental disability caused by differences in the brain. People with ASD often have problems with social communication and interaction, and restricted or repetitive behaviors or interests. People with autism spectrum disorder may also have different ways of learning, moving, and paying attention. Tonight, we've brought on a guest to help us, to enlighten us, to educate us about what ASD is. About 20 or 30 years ago, it was said that 1 in 44 children were diagnosed with autism, but it appears lately autism has been quite rampant in our communities and in our families. And so without much ado, to educate us, we'll be learning about autism with Edore, and she joins us live from Calgary. Good evening, Edore. It's so nice to finally meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Nice to be here.
Yes, and I know you said you've not done this before. We're just going to have a very private conversation, just that the world will be listening. And when we were discussing this, I said it was important because before now, I didn't have a background to autism. I didn't put myself in the position to. It was removed from me, and if not because I'm involved with it now, I don't. May God forgive me, I won't be interested in autism, is the honest to God truth. And so we've invited you here because so many people are like me, perhaps. They know nothing and they stand from afar and they watch the child throwing the tantrum on the train, on the bus, in the party, and they judge the mother. That child needs discipline. What are you not doing right with that child? Or they slip the mother a note like there's just something wrong. And we all need a bit of understanding and enlightenment on autism. So to get us into this, could you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, like you know, my name is Edore. Currently, I live in Calgary. I'm a mom of 3. My first son was diagnosed with autism when he was 3. Currently, I work with teenagers also in high school on the spectrum with various disability, from autism to mental health or even anxiety. So just a little bit about myself. But today I'll be speaking more from a mom's point of view rather than a professional point of view when it comes to autism.
Yeah, so I got a definition from off the internet about what autism or ASD is. Would you say that definition is correct in your own intimate position? How would you describe autism?
Like most of us know, autism is a spectrum. So different kids fall into different categories. It's like everyone will say, if you've met one child with autism, you've met one child with autism. It doesn't necessarily mean every child with autism have the same behavior or even act the same way. So it's a spectrum, and anyone can fall into any of the spectrum, any area of the spectrum.
So how do we begin to now? Okay, let me actually start by dealing with. I was at a prayer service and the pastor was asking us to pray that God should give us power. He said he held a baby and he was praying that the baby would stop being autistic, and God didn't answer his prayer. And he fasted 30 days afterwards and the baby is still autistic. The question is, one, how should we, is this something God can heal? Is it a lack of prayer that maybe has caused a child to be autistic? Is it ignorant of that pastor to have spoken like that? Is it unfair and unkind?
Okay, first of all, I won't say it's ignorance. Rather, I would say it's lack of awareness. You can say, personally, I won't say autism is a disease that needs to be cured. Like we all know, it's a disability that comes with a child, and how you handle it matters a lot. Even if you go from prayer house to prayer house, you're asking God for healing, heal my child, heal my child. What effort are you putting in to work with that child to get that child where you want that child to get to? Take, for instance, you find yourself having an autistic child and you sit home, you want that child to be able to speak, you want that child to be able to be well behaved, but you do nothing about it. You don't expect God to come down and heal that child for you. You have to put in an effort. You have to do the work. Training an autistic child is very challenging and demanding. But if you don't put in the effort, you won't get any results. So for me, I just believe it's lack of awareness, because if you take your time, success cases that have been recorded is as a result of the efforts that parents especially put into the development of that child. Take, for instance, you have a child that is nonverbal. You even get a speech therapist. There is a plan you have to follow. That child cannot start talking in a day. As a mom or as a parent, you feel, oh, this child, I know he has speech, I know he can say things, but you have to let him believe that he can say those things. You have to start from the basic. It might even take that child another 1 or 2 or even 5 years to even make one sentence. But it's the effort you put in that will help that child to grow. So that is what I can say. So even if you are praying, pray for God to give you wisdom. Pray for God to give you patience. Pray for God to give you the strength to be able to put that effort and work with that child, for that child to be able to overcome whatever challenges he or her is facing.
I just wanted to thank you very much. I like that perspective, that God should give wisdom and grace. I want to get the cultural aspect first out of it, the mindset that can hinder progress in autistic families. Another mindset is, so what's the point? What's the point? And the mother is overwhelmed. Well, she's moving into depression. What's the point?
First of all, if having an autistic child, any parent that have an autistic child know the challenges that come with it. There are days you are depressed. There are days you are overwhelmed. There are days you just want to give up. There are days you sleep, and when you wake up, you just wish you can continue sleeping, because you know what you're going to face. I believe every parent I've gone through. I don't think anybody can say anything that I've not done. If it's cry, I've cried. If it's prayed, I've prayed. I've done everything. But the moment you tell yourself, I have to work, I have to do the work, that is when you start dealing with those challenges. And the first thing is self-care. Love yourself enough to be able to love that child, to be able to drive yourself, to be able to put in the effort. See, it's not an easy journey. But look at it this way, that if you don't start the process, how will you even get there? How will you even achieve what you want to? There are days that is depressing. There are days you don't even want to think of it. There are days you ask yourself, why me? But if not you, who else? It's a challenge everybody face. So you sometimes you even feel you're the only one dealing with some certain behaviors, because like when the meltdown comes from that child, when the tantrum comes, when because sometimes they tend to do things like they can even I've had one time when my son was younger. He was playing with a toy and was looking at the screen. We just bought a new TV, I think a 50 something inches. They're brand new, like 2 weeks old. He was looking at the screen. The next thing, he just used the toy and threw it on the screen and cracked it. What will you do? And that was the end of the TV. There are days like that. Just feel like, oh my God, my world is just shattering right in front of me. But you pick it up and keep up, because if you don't handle it, who will? You can get all the therapists. They will come and they will go. That child will still be with you. Oh. So it's putting in that effort.
Oh.
That's what I can say.
Oh. Oh. You know, you're right about that. You know, you can, with your money, we can buy, you know, we can buy anything we want to buy. We can buy any service from any professional. At the end of the day, that baby is yours. That baby is mine. So is it because we failed? Is autism some sort of failure on the mother's part, on the father's part? Perhaps this is something we did wrong?
Not at all. I think scientifically, I don't think it has been proven the cause of autism. Some people will say it's hereditary, but I don't know how that's possible, because until I had a son with autism, I never knew what autism was. My son was the first autistic child I met, and I never had it in my family. My husband never had it in his family. Some people will say it's immunization, but that has not been proven either. A lot of factors. So I don't think anybody can actually say, oh, it's a sin I committed. I don't think that is the case. If it's a sin you committed, why would God bring a child into this world and say, oh, I'm paying you back for your sin? It doesn't make sense. So it's a situation where I don't think for autism parents, it just like we found ourselves having kids with special needs. And all we have to do is to love them and care for them the best we can.
Thank you. So what are the main symptoms? How did you find out that your son was autistic? Was it when he was a lot younger?
The funny thing was that he was my first son. So when he was about, before 1, he was actually talking. And everything, like he met all his milestones, like he was talking. Then all of a sudden, we just saw this regression. Like he just regressed, like he stopped talking. I noticed he started arranging things in piles. He wasn't responding. Like when you talk to him, he doesn't respond. He was just in his own world. But still, I didn't know what was going on. So like I'll complain, and my mother-in-law then, she was always with me. So she would be like, no, he's the first child, give it time. Most times some kids are slow and everything. Then I noticed he started working on his toes. And I'll be like, why is he working on his toes? And some people were like, maybe he's irritated, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. But I didn't know what was going on. So there was a day I went for immunization in the hospital. And my doctor saw the immunization was for him actually. So my doctor saw him and he was like, is this how your son has been working? I said, yes. So he asked me, have you checked him? I said, check for what? He said, I will advise you to go to a pediatrician and check him. So that was the first red flag for me. So I was like, okay. I think the next week I went to the hospital. I booked an appointment, saw a pediatrician, and the pediatrician asked me a bunch of questions. And when I answered, he was like, then he was not up to 3. So they were like, we cannot diagnose anything right now. So wait till it's 3. So I was like, diagnose what? So it was like, we might be suspecting autism, but we cannot diagnose now. So that was when I was like, what's that? They didn't want to say anything, so I went back, read about it. I was like, no, is this not possible? You know, when you read about autism and you see a lot of things and you see some red flag that you've seen in your child, I'll be like, no, this is not me. At that time I didn't want to just accept it when he was 3, but then I started like making effort. I was monitoring him. I got a chat that talks about milestone. I was like, okay, met all this milestone, but at this stage he's supposed to be talking. At this stage he's supposed to be responding, but he's not. At this stage he's supposed you're even supposed to send him like, okay, you can bring that stuff for me or bring this for me. He's supposed to be doing all that, but he wasn't. He was just in a world of his own. He was going to school and he was just by himself. So when he was 3, we went back and he was diagnosed of autism. And my words shattered. Like, I was like, I didn't know what to do. Like that was it for me, and that was a turning point for me. I was in denial for a while. I didn't want to believe it, but after a period of time, I told myself, if I don't handle it now, when will I? I remember when my son was 4, I was told by a doctor, like, there's a possibility he might not talk, that we should start teaching him sign language and all that. So that was when I told myself, this is not possible. This boy used to talk. This boy has made sound before. So I'll go back to the point when you asked, when you say some parents are like frustrated or like asking questions, questioning themselves. At that point, that was when I knew, like, okay, if I don't step in, then I will never achieve what I want. Then I started putting in effort, trying to create things, bringing resources together. I dedicated certain time for myself and him, and I work with him for those times. I had a schedule. Now, with kids with autism, schedules are best to work with them, because once they are able to get into a schedule, things will work easier for you and for them. I started with having a schedule for him, and that was when we started growing. From there, I started teaching him. I got Queen Premier. I started teaching him the basics. I started putting everywhere in my house. We'll have little letters all around. We started combining letters together. Now he's about 11. Though he cannot hold a conversation, but he can tell you what he wants. And this was a child I was told might never talk and should learn sign language. I told them bluntly, I'm not teaching him sign language. He has speech. He will talk. And that is the work. It wasn't a day's thing. This took years, a period of over 7 years. But I think we're winning. Every win is a win. I saw the progress in him. Potty training was not easy. That took years, but now he's potty trained. So it's the dedication and the time that you put in that believe me, you always get a result.
You know, I'm listening to you, and a part of me is like, God, I need grace. God, I need strength. You know, because some babies are talking at 18 months, and what you're describing is several years. And I suppose the miracle there is not giving up. Yeah. Like, you have to be able to say what you want. Mm-hmm. You have to be able to speak. So once you speak, then we know what you want. Mm-hmm. And then what worries me with autism is when children harm themselves, they get frustrated and they're hitting their head on the wall, they are scratching their face. It brings tears, like, you wonder, it's just like a roller coaster of emotion. So I suppose it brings me to, how can mothers or families, how do we even cope? Because, you're right, it's good days and bad days. And in those really, really bad days, it's really, really bad. And you're thinking, oh God, I need some help here. Share some of your coping mechanisms. Yeah.
Well, some of those behaviors are sensory to most of most kids with autism. They're sensory to them. So, like, for instance, a kid might be spinning and spinning and spinning and hit their body on the wall. A kid might, like, I remember moving, my son then would bang his head. And because the floor, like in Canada, the houses are wooden. So when he bangs his head, he doesn't feel the effect he wants. He will run to the garage and bang his head on the garage. I am scared, but I think it's a sensory thing for him. But he doesn't know. At that moment, he's not even feeling any pain, especially when he's upset. He's not feeling any pain. But we had to start teaching him, like, this behavior is not acceptable. This behavior, you can overcome it. Or how can you cope with not banging your head? That is when you have to bring in another behavior to substitute that. For instance, instead of banging your head, why not hit the table? Do you understand? Use your palm and hit the table. Don't bang your head. So when he's getting to that point, I put him down, and when he wants to hit his head, I'll bang the table, I'll smash the table. And he started doing that at a time. He will hit the table. He didn't like it. Sometimes he will run off and go to the garage and hit his head. But I'll bring him back. I'll say, no, don't hit your head. Hit the table. And we kept doing that. But now for the past over a year now, he has not gone anywhere to hit his head, because we have to replace that behavior with something more safe. So even if you're stopping a child from a behavior that is unsafe, look for something else to replace it, because if you're trying to stop it completely, it will not work. Any behavior you don't want, look for something else to replace that behavior. I'm talking about coping for mothers on those bad days. The truth is that those days you don't see them coming. But however, there's a trigger. You will see the signs before he gets to that meltdown point. There's always a trigger. So it's for every parent to know the trigger for their kids. Okay, because for me, I know when my son has beginning to accumulate, and I'll be like, okay, he's getting to that point, then I find something to replace it for him not to get to that point. So it's for you to study your child and know the trigger, because it doesn't just come all at once. Something must have brought about it.
Thank you. So what we are dealing with here is a 2-year-old that likes white meals. He's very picky eater, very, very, very picky. But you know he's hungry. You try this, you try that.
For picky eaters, you will go around the food chain. But see, it's about trying different things, because there are days they might eat things you don't even expect. Another thing I would say is, like, talk to you if you have a doctor, a family doctor, always talk to your doctor about things like that. Some kids might be I've met a kid before, like, he doesn't eat anything you use you use with a spoon or a fork. He likes to pick his food. The parent had to create or implement other ways to make his food, so that it maybe in the way you have your fries, you can pick it, maybe a meatball and everything, because different kids with their own sensory their own sensitivity when it comes to food. The truth is that you can never, for picky eaters, you can never really know what they like, because at the end of the day, you might feel, oh, this is his favorite. But after 2 or 3 days, or even after 1 month, he doesn't want to eat that food again. So you just keep trying. You just keep trying. I'm not a professional when it comes to that, but you can always talk to a professional. But for me as a mom, I know my son is a picky eater, but I keep trying everything. You need to see my kitchen. I try everything. Today is eating this, tomorrow is eating that. But what I've noticed that he likes things that he can swallow easily. So with that, that's a win for me. Most time, even oats, I can blend oats and turn it to swallow, just to make him eat something. That's just for you to know what they like. And if you're able to get like 5 or 6 food, make sure they have all the nutrients, and just do it in different form, make it in different form so that they can eat it.
Mm. On your Instagram page, you say it takes a child with autism to increase the village's awareness.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
can the village help?
Um, that is the thing, because most, okay, I'll say from my own experience, like people I've met back in the days, I just believe it's lack of awareness that makes them feel, oh, this child is spoiled. This mother doesn't take care of this child. This mother is this mother is that, or this parent is this parent is that. It just to, we as parents, or any parent that have kids with autism, when we see people like that, we should learn to understand. Like, most of us never knew about autism till we have until we had autistic kids. So it's sent for everybody that criticizes you. So for me, I believe it's talking to people, creating the awareness. Like, you have a good platform here. This is creating awareness. I don't know how many people are listening right now, but this is creating awareness for everybody. I opened an Instagram page for my son just to create that awareness. There are good and bad days. I will share it. Every day is not rosy. It's just to create that awareness. I've seen people call me. I don't even know them before, and they'll be like, "Oh, are you this? Are you this person? I heard this is this. Can you enlighten me more?" And I provide that services for free. It's just to let people know it's not an easy thing to do, talking about autism, and from your own point of view, how you've been able to come this long, and how you've been able to. I'm not saying it's not something you overcome, it's something you live with. How you're able to live with it. So I just believe is when I created that write up, it was more of the support I've gotten so far as a result of me talking to people about it. That's why that write-up came about. Like the way they would say it takes a village to raise a child. When you've met one autistic child, you've met just one autistic child. Every autistic child is different because, like I said, it's a spectrum.
Mm. I want you to reflect on when you look back now, what sort of support would you have appreciated from your family and friends in those early days that you did not get, or that maybe you got and you perhaps even want more of it?
I think for me, it's more of patience and understanding. The truth is that with an autistic child, the patience a parent will have, no other person can have that. No other person. So it's more of that patience and understanding with the child, because you can only try your best as maybe a relative and or a friend or anything. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming. I used to drop my kid with some friends back home, and I will call like every 30 minutes, and they'll be like, "Oh, he's fine, but when are you coming?" Because it's not easy. Um, taking my if I think I still do that. Like, if you don't know my kid personally, I would not bring my kid to your house, because I don't know the behavior. It might exhibit at that point. It might just see a fish tank or something breakable, and he might get irritated, or like that might not sit well with him, and he will push it and break it. How do I start explaining? Like, if I don't have that relationship with you, I can't put my child in that circle.
Hmm.
That's me.
Yeah, of course. I mean, on your Instagram page, Autism Honest, we see him playing in the sun. That's your David. We see him sitting on a bus,
Yeah.
sitting nicely. We see him in a food court. I have to say, given my own short experience with raising a kid with autism, like you, it looks incredibly well stabilized and it looks extremely well adjusted. And
I will tell you a story.
mm,
Um, Before, not until about 20, I think 2019, Yeah, about 2018, 2017, 2018. Up until then, I didn't used to take my son out because of the fear of, oh my God, he would he will destroy this, he would throw tantrum, he would push someone, he will hit someone. And because it was a big challenge, then if we take him to the mall, he will push down everything in the aisle. If we take it to the mall and he doesn't see because like anywhere we go to, the first thing I do is to show him the washroom. But if we're in the mall to just pick something up, if he doesn't see the washroom or this, he might go to the corner. He has done that in Walmart. He went to the corner. I wanted to pee. I had to hold him and drag him to the washroom. So it was, and there were days we'll take him to the mall. He will have a meltdown. He will scream the mall, and you see other kids scared and all that. And for a while, I think for a period of like 4 years, we didn't take him out to the public, like to the mall or maybe a social gathering. Then I sat down one day and I was like, okay, this child is growing. He's going to be a teenager someday. He's going to be an adult someday. And I can't keep on restricting him to stay home all the time. How do I overcome this barrier? And what I did was like, okay, first of all, I'm going to start teaching him how to behave in the public. That was where we started our journey. Then what I did was like every weekend, we'll walk from the home to the bus stop. He's not good at waiting, but my neighbors then knew us because they would see me chasing him to come back to the bench to sit, because he's very terrible at waiting. He doesn't want to wait. He doesn't have the patience for that. That was where we started teaching him to sit on the bench till the bus come. The first two times, I did not get him in the bus. We sat there, the bus came. He wanted to get in, but I told him to sit down because I wanted him to be eager. So that I wanted him to be well behaved when he gets into the bus. He didn't get into the bus that day. He was so upset and there was tantrum and everything. We went back home. The second time we did the same thing. The third time, when we got to the bus, he was the one sitting and waiting. So I was like, okay, you're ready to get on the bus. And the first day we got to the bus, it was good. We went on the bus. We got to the shopping mall. And guess what? I didn't let him get into the shopping mall because I was scared. But I made him walk around the mall. Like we just walked in front and we went back. Why I did that was like for him to have the sense of being in public, behaving in public. I think it took about the fourth time before I let him get into the mall. And most times with autistic kids, you think they don't hear you or they are not listening. They are, but they will interpret it in their own way. Most times they do things just to see your reaction. And when we got into the mall, we picked something. And he wanted to walk further. And I said, no, let's go back. And there was a meltdown. But it took me about 5 times to understand my own kid. Like, instead of us going back, we have to go round and come out. So with him, it's forward ever. You can't go back. So if we go to a mall, if we miss any shop, I can't go back to that shop. I have to go around. Like I said, it took me a while to understand him. Now we go grocery shopping together. We can stay in the mall for about 2-3 hours. But then I could not do that. That's when I say understand your child, and every process you take, don't expect a win immediately, and celebrate every win as you can, as best as you can. But it took me years to get to that point with him, to be able to understand, like, okay, this is the way he will react to this particular scenario. So when we go to the mall, if we miss anything, we don't turn back. We go around and come back to that part. Even if it's an aisle in the shop, we'll go around and I'll be like, okay, let's go around and come back. Then we'll pick it up. And that was how we continued. And that was why I was like, okay, this is worth celebrating, because it took years to get to this point.
I've got 2 questions here and then we'll begin to round up. Thank you so very much for your openness and honesty dealing with this, sharing your experience and enlightening us. I know we are not there yet, but for some of us with toddlers right now, we're on the spectrum, we'll get there. So it's nice to know that what we need to do is we can pay attention and modify certain behavior. But
Yeah, I would say with toddlers, that was for me. I think because of the fact, like, growing in my home country, Nigeria, because we didn't have a lot of resources. I think a lot of things was missed in between some period of years. Now with toddlers, they always say with autism, early intervention is always the best, and which is true. So having a toddler with autism, your best bet is to have a schedule. And once they're able to fall in that schedule, they know their routine. You don't need to teach them their routine. It's not easy getting them into the routine. Don't rush it. Like for instance, have a morning routine, have an afternoon routine, have an evening routine. When you start working with that, you are helping that child structure its own path or our own path, and it works. Routine works like magic. Even if it's three goals you set as a routine in the morning, like, okay, wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is brush your teeth, take your bath, eat breakfast. If they have that, they have that. Like when I started my own personal experience, when I started working with routine with my son, I noticed that if he wakes up in the morning, when he got used to the routine, if you change the routine, like maybe weekend, I'll be like, oh, it's weekend, let's not have her. Let's just brush and go and eat. I've messed up his routine. And sometimes I see behaviors. I'll be like, what changed? Oh, he didn't take his bath before eating. So once they have a structure, they work best when they have a structure. So with toddlers, like if your child is 3, if your child is 4, have a routine that you'll be surprised on how well they will do. And another thing is when you're talking to them, let everybody speak the same language. If you are calling something, for instance, if you're wearing a pants and maybe you're used to calling it trouser, call it a trouser. Let that child know it's trouser. Everybody that works with him or around him, let them know it's called a trouser. Don't call it a pants because he will not understand. You are messing up everything. So everybody should be on the same. You should be on the same level of communication with that kid. It will help that kid a lot.
I've got to ask this as an African parent, or maybe a Nigerian parent. Some parents will argue that you can modify behavior with a stick. How effective or not effective is that with an autistic child, or with threats? Maybe a deep voice or a spank or go to your room or they lock the kid up. It's not something I've tried. I'm just asking.
You're wasting your time. It's a waste of time. Even we, when we were growing up with all this spanking and everything, we still went behind and we did whatever we wanted to do. Less of an autistic child. That child will cry. But that child will still do what they have to do. So with beating an autistic child, you are just punishing yourself and that child for no reason. It doesn't work. You only create fear. And when you create fear in children, they will never achieve what you want them to achieve. It just creates fear. And that child sees you, that child is withdrawn. That child wouldn't want to learn, especially when it comes to autistic children. Once they have that detachment, it's difficult to bring them back in. So, like I said, sometimes behaviors can be frustrating, behaviors can be overwhelmed. But they are not saying it from your own point of view. I had a friend that was complaining that the child would bring down all the breakable plates, and the child enjoyed just bringing it out of the shelf and dropping it, bringing it out of the shelf and dropping it. And I told her, like, it's sensory for him. How can you replace this behavior? Because he will continue doing it until you replace the behavior. But for the mom, that child is destructive. But for the child, it's sensory.
I mean, thank you so. Thank you so very much. I want us before we let you go. This has been so very helpful for me. Is to where can mothers and fathers get relief? Are there groups, places where they can calm down and say, honest to God, I don't understand this child. Even me, I don't understand myself. How much more a child? I think it takes exceptionalism, some sort of deep maturity to be able to forget our shortcomings as parents, because we are damaged people anyhow. And God is asking us to raise to raise an autistic child, it is a heck of a lot, parents. So where can parents, it's a heck of a hacks, but where can we go to get support, to get that relief, that safe community for us?
See, there are a lot of, if for most parents that live in Calgary or Canada, I won't say everybody here lives in Canada. There are a lot of support group on Facebook. Then for those that live in Calgary, there's this moms group organized by Autism Calgary. It's a fantastic group. Also, there's this WhatsApp group we also created just for moms with special need group. Like if anybody wants to join, I think they can contact you and we can add them to the group. It's just to come, and even if you want to rant, come and rant. Just pour at your heart. Then for most parents that do not have access to groups and they just feel, okay, please, I need a break. You can just take time off, like even if get somebody to watch this kid for like 1 or 2 hours, take yourself to the spa, just go somewhere and go to the movies and just take care of yourself for a few hours. Like then when I came to Canada, I didn't have anybody. I came here not knowing anybody apart from one friend I used to chat with once in a while. Then when I'm overwhelmed, believe you me, I would take a day off work. And the first thing I would plan that day, and because I will plan it on the day that my kid is going to school. I'll just take that day off work. I'll go to the movies. I'll go to the spa. I just see myself being happy on those days because, like, I feel like, oh, I have a time for myself and everything. Just take, even if in a month, just dedicate some time to say, okay, even if it's once in a month, I'll take 5 hours and take care of myself, take care of me, because you need that self-care. Mental health issues are real. You don't want to be depressed, because if you are depressed, believe me, you will not be able to look at that child because you are dealing with a lot. So self-care is really important. Talk to somebody. Call somebody that knows your child, that knows what you are going. Just rant and tell the person, see, I'm just calling you to rant, I'm fine. And drop the phone.
So in those instances, as family, what should your response be? If someone is calling you to rant about the autistic child, how can you console them at that minute or in that moment? What do you say? Do you say God will do it? What's, I don't know.
Most times somebody might call you. Like I know my sister used to have like a bombshell from me every time I'm at that point. I'll just call her and I'll talk and talk and talk. And the next thing I'll just say, sorry, I'm calling you. And I don't just know who to talk to. I just feel like expressing myself. Most times she will laugh and she will ask me, are you okay now? Are you fine now? I'll be like, and if I want to continue, she will just change the topic and maybe say something funny and I will laugh. But never a day has she told me like, oh, God will do it, God will this, God will do this, or God will do that for you and everything. Because we pray, we do things on our own, but sometimes you just want to hear something different. You just want somebody to like distract you sometimes. So even if somebody should call you and you know the person's situation with an autistic child, so just say something to just put a smile, something to just tell a joke. If the person is your childhood friend, just say something silly that might make the person laugh, and I believe the person will just feel that sense of relief. Because most times when we are at that point, sometimes our faith is wavering. And when you tell somebody, oh, God will do it, God will bless you, and the person might reply, oh, have I not been praying to the same God? At that point, really, believe me, the person doesn't want to hear that. The person just wants that total distraction, that thing that would just like reflect on and maybe laugh, and another conversation might even start from there. You're on mute.
Oopsie, sorry. When people reflect around God and around faith, do you often, actually, let me rephrase the question. How is one able to have faith in God that allows for autism in children?
See, your faith and your belief in God is thank God for where you are. Because I know I always say this, like when I'm like, oh, I'm cutting to that point, I've done it, and I hear that voice like, oh, God cannot give you what you cannot handle. And I'll be like, no, I can't handle this. So God has given me what I cannot handle. And I'll be like, okay, if I don't know if any autistic, if anybody with any parent with autistic child is listening, but I believe after knowing you have a child with autism, if you reflect back on yourself and your life, you will see how strong you are, because you will not know how much effort there are things you think you will not be able to do, you will do it. The kind of dedication you are showing, you even ask yourself, am I the one doing this right now? Because that is the only drive. And when you pray, well, we pray for healing. Yes, everybody wants their child to be perfect. Everybody wants their child to be great. But do you pray when you go? Do you pray? Do you pray for grace? Do you pray for strength? Do you pray for dedication? Because to work with an autistic child, you need those things. You need your strength. You need dedication. You need to devote time. You will go to work and you will come back. See, every parent with an autistic child work 24 hours of the day. Because as you are leaving the office, the child is closing from school, the child is at home. As you are coming back, there's another work waiting for you. So when you pray, those are the things you pray for. You pray for strength. You pray for grace. You pray not to relent, because there are days where you find yourself like, oh my God, I want to give up. I say, I'm tired. I'm overwhelmed. What do I do? So you have to love yourself first, so that you can transform that love to that child.
Edore, I hear you, and that was deep. I want to say thank you very much for keeping it real with us tonight. Thank you for
having me.
For joining us to shed enlightenment on what, as villagers, we all need to do to support community members who have autistic children, what we need to do to support ourselves, and how mindset is important. You said we should take time out to go to the spa, to go to the, to do things ourselves. A happy mother would raise a happy child. A balanced mom will raise a balanced child. And I know the difficulties and the challenges raising a non-verbal autistic child is not easy, but it's also not impossible, because there you are, look at you doing it successfully. And I look at your son on Instagram, this is one happy boy, and I know we don't have all the answers, but in this moment, we know that His grace is sufficient for us. I want to say a big thank you. I'm wondering if we can invite you again. I'm sure this will lead to a lot of questions, and I'm going to get inundated. And as I'm getting the question, maybe I'll send to you. So if not February, maybe March, we can do, because we can have another show, because I know, especially in Black communities, we don't talk about autism. It's one of those things we hide, like we only want to show when things are successful, and we don't want to show autism. I know that,
Yeah.
A lot of us don't want to be associated with things that we think are beneath us, but God brings autistic children to our lives for a reason.
Yeah.
For a reason. It's for a reason. I think they are angels of our generation, the angels of our times. You know, if you're looking for an angel, look at your autistic child. So I want to say thank you on a Saturday night for sharing your wisdom with us.
Thank you.
We will keep in touch. And once again, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Have a good night, Edore. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.